How martial arts transform my mental health. Martial arts are designed to enhance fighting skills. You will learn martial arts to protect yourself and others. However, how are martial arts related to mental health? Mental health is the state of emotional, psychological, and social well-being. At face value, martial arts only seem to be meant for fighting and violence. It is definitely deeper than that. The 3 standards of well-being from mental health can come from training in martial arts. Why is this the case? There are 5 benefits of training in martial arts. These benefits are purpose, flow state, physical health, mastery, and community. Before we begin explaining each of these benefits, we must understand that training in martial arts will give us the security of mind. This is what mental health is fighting for. Having a stable mind, body, and soul matters too much today since too many people have some kind of mental illness. Yet only a small percentage of them want to train in martial arts. Purpose, first and foremost, why do we want to train in martial arts in the first place? There are 3 reasons why we should train in martial arts. These are the noble purposes of why we should learn martial arts. The first reason is learning how to fight. The second reason is having tough skin and resiliency. The last reason is visible progression. All 3 of these reasons will give people the purpose to keep going. Now we can explain each reason separately. The first reason is learning how to fight. Everyone should know how to fight. People will correlate fighting with being violent. This assumption is true. However, correlation does not always mean causation. If people correlate fighting with being violent, they will think that being harmless to everyone is the best case scenario. This is not ideal. If you are harmless to everyone, you will not have a stance when things get tough. It's about the priority of courage. When I mention courage, I have learned that courage doesn't magically appear by its own. True courage comes from being competent and then confident. There is a reason why we need to be a fighter. When the worst case scenario comes, we are the first line of defense. This includes both men and women. Why I am also mentioning women too is because one of the worst case scenarios is when a woman is alone by herself with danger approaching her. If she knows how to fight, it will give her time to immobilize the attacker and run to find help. Of course, the best option is to have a gun. What if the woman does not want to end a life? In a life or death situation, this should be the last thing anyone should worry about. The reality is that when you carry a gun, you should be prepared to kill someone else in the act of self-defense. The second reason is having tough skin. How can martial arts give people tough skin? For starters, people who train in martial arts are getting punched, kicked, and choked out. They know what they are signing up for, and they are prepared. Every time a fighter is training, they are suffering in one way or another. This can be mentally or physically. I have already explained the physical suffering of being in pain. Now what about the mental suffering? First and foremost, there is a saying, the mind will quit before the body. I believe this is true because most of the time, many people do not perform anything challenging and mentally exhausting in their lives. When the actual emergency happens, they will not be prepared. This is about adaptation. We need to understand that the purpose of the mind is to adapt. This is how we will grow and learn. This is how we will obtain tough skin. Many people who have trained in martial arts for a long time want to test their skills and compete. This is about combat sports. In combat sports, there will be a winner and a loser. If we lose, we will feel terrible. This is natural. However, it's about how we get back up and continue the grind that matters. The third reason is visible progression. This is the most essential reason when it comes to having a purpose. The truth is that this is what purpose is all about. We need to understand that as intellectual human beings, we will prefer the end of a destination. However, the truth is that it's all about the journey. This is what visible progression is about. We will find it fascinating and exciting to see improvements in our build and grind. This is what true motivation comes from. I have talked before on my channel, but I will never stop talking about this subject. I'm talking about the compound effect. When we are training in martial arts, it is like pushing a ball up a big hill. The top of the hill is the turning point. What is this turning point I am talking about? This is what the compound effect is all about. When the ball rolls down from the top of the hill, it will accelerate. We need to know that there will not be a single hill either. There will be many. However, the effort it will take to come to the top of the next hill is very little compared to the first hill. What if the next hill is the same length or even taller than the first hill? The law of physics will not allow this. So what will be the next step? Besides the law of physics, we should know about the law of physical exercise. If we push something that is resist against us, we will obtain muscle. This means that we will be stronger and stronger from every hill that we have pushed. With this being said, physical health will be our next chapter. Physical health as martial artists, we need to be physically fit. We need to understand that a protector or even a survivor will need time for sustainment. This is the main purpose why we want to be fit. Martial arts are for everyone. However, we will not have the true experience when we are not physically fit. Sustainment definition for a fit individual is about the muscle and cardio endurance. This is why we need to enhance these two aspects of physical health. Of course, we cannot neglect other aspects of physical health either. The truth is that a balance of all fitness categories like flexibility and mobility will also enhance performance and, most importantly, enhance injury prevention. If you train in martial arts, you can be injured one way or another. This is why injury prevention is also essential. We will build an invisible body armor if we strengthen our joints and muscles. I've mentioned before that we can truly experience training in martial arts when we are fit. Now I am talking about the next level of fitness when we train in martial arts. This level is about becoming a combat sports athlete. A combat sports athlete, compared to other athletes of different sports, requires a more balanced body capability. This means that you have to train everything that can make you a great fighter. As a combat athlete, you have to be stronger, faster, and endure longer. You will not only train the body, but you will train both the mind and the spirit. The reason is that strategy is essential in a match where your opponent can be at the same athletic level. The one who wins is the one who takes the slightest chance of advantage. With this being said, if we want to reach this level, we must consistently train every moment of the day. Even if you overtrain your body, you will still need to train your mind and spirit. This is where flow state shines. Flow state, first and foremost, what is flow state? A flow state is a mental state where a person becomes fully immersed and focused on an activity, often leading to a sense of fluidity between mind and body. With that being mentioned, flow state is the first step to train our mind, body, and spirit. The thing about flow state is that the activities that activate flow state can be anything. It can be activated by watching entertainment for hours in one sitting. It can be scrolling on your phone for hours. It can be activated when you are talking to someone you are interested in for hours. Why is this so important to mention? This has everything to do with motivation. When you activate your flow state, you will not rely solely on your willpower and motivation. In fact, you will rely on nothing but time. What do I mean? To activate flow state, there will be many stages. The first stage is when you're trying to get into the flow state. Today, people call it getting into the zone. At this stage, you will be distracted and impatient. The worst distraction will be your phone. How will you fix this? This is a problem when you have to work at your desk with your laptop. Right now, I am not talking about that. Right now, I'm solely talking about training in martial arts. Fortunately, the phone is not the problem in this situation. The real problem is showing up for practice. The truth is that training in martial arts can easily activate your flow state. Not just martial arts, but any challenging workout routine. Showing up for your desk job will be easy because you must show up daily to keep that job. Your mind and body will be there. However, your spirit will not be there. When you train in martial arts, it will be on your own terms to show up and train. Next will be the middle stage of the flow state. Flow state will continue at this stage when you have figured out the task and perform it until the very end. The last stage of the flow state is the detachment phase or the end phase. There are two ways we can end the flow state. The first way is to complete the task entirely. The second way is to have a stopping point or the end time. The end time is usually determined by the direct numerical time on the clock. This end time is essential because it's the transition phase to the next flow state. We need to smoothly transition from one mental focusing activity to the next one. This is how we will stay productive. During this transition period, we need to avoid consumption like entertainment. After that, the cycle of flow state will continue. After a long time, flow state will turn into mastery of the activity. This will be our next chapter. Mastery. What is mastery? Mastery is a possession or display of great skill or knowledge that makes one a master of a subject. With this being said, how does achieving mastery in martial arts help with my mental health? First and foremost, training in martial arts is one of the best skills to master. Why is this the case? Any martial arts style will have different levels of achievement when you sign up to train. Many styles will include the belt ranking system. The highest ranking belt is the black belt. These ranking systems will give many people a reason to continue their journey. The only reason why many people stop is because of priorities. The truth is that becoming a master in a martial arts style is a commitment. We are responsible to learn, practice, and performing at the standard of the rank or going beyond it. This is the definition of what training really means. This will give us a sense of focus that cannot be replaced by another art form. If we want to be a master in a martial art, we will have to be a mentor. They say that if you become a black belt in a style, your journey has not ended yet, but rather just begun. A black belt is when you have learned all the fundamentals. After this level, you will learn to keep on improving your technique and strategy by networking and training with more experienced masters. This will lead us to the next chapter of how martial arts transformed my mental health. Community. First and foremost, what is community? A community is a social unit of people with shared characteristics, such as place, norms, culture, religion, values, customs, or identity. That being said, how has the martial arts community transformed my mental health? To be honest, my mental health was never at risk before. I mention this because the way to treat anything, especially mental health, is to prevent it in the first place. Avoidance is the option because everything you do will build habits. However, habits will not magically happen. Something must kickstart the good habits that are essential for success. This will be motivation. This is where the community shines the most. Every community in this world will have a hierarchy status, and many people's purpose in that community is to reach that status. How can they reach that status? They have to perform self-improvement for everything. Some communities' top hierarchy status will be more difficult than others to achieve. A martial arts master requires a minimum of 5 years to achieve. Some style requires 10 years of training to receive a black belt. This is a long time to wait. With this being said, while we are waiting, we should learn to become better and better fighters every day. We do not have to be a black belt to join a tournament. It is recommended to join a competition after 6 months of training. The reason I mention this is that a black belt is a mentor. They have been through what you have been through before. This is why we should pick their brain every day and at every training session. The real professional and great high-status individual in the community should manage and mentor their subordinate.